Hey everyone, welcome to modntune. This is the second video in a 4-part series on rebuilding my rust bucket CRV. Although after this video, I don't think I can call it that anymore. If you haven't seen the first video, I encourage you to check it out. You can see me take it from a running, driving vehicle down to the shell that you see here. I hope you guys are ready for some major rust repair ahead. I'm going to get started by cutting out the rear fender arches, which will be modified to a larger opening. Alright, I'm just going to lay some tape down as a guide. I'm going to cut it right here along the body line. Alright, so check out this Ingersoll Rand body saw I got. So I spent a little more money and got this really nice one. It's really smooth, so I guess let's give it a shot. Alright, did you see how quickly that body saw went through there? So that thing was worth every penny. Look how clean of a cut that was. Just that alone is going to take care of a ton of rust that I just don't have to deal with anymore. And look at all this extra clearance I have for tires. I mean, it looks factory. Alright, so there's quite a few directions I could go from here, but I'm just going to stay in this area and kind of tackle this area. It's more of a complex area, so might as well just get into it right away and see what we got. So I'm just going to cut a flat piece out, so here goes. Alright, let's take a look at the progress here. So I've been going at it with the needler tool down here. That's been doing a really good job at taking all those big rust flakes off. It's obvious we're not going to get 100% rust removal, but we're just going to get as much as we can and leave it at that. So anyways guys, I'm going to go to the other side and kind of get it this far and we'll go from there. Alright, so before I get too carried away, I'll show you the progress here. So I got a lot of this cut out. Probably going to have to cut a little more out still. And then before I do this with the needler, I'll just show you what it looks like. Alright, check out what it looks like afterwards. That tool does a really good job. Definitely wouldn't be able to do this without it. So, I mean, it's going pretty good, all things considered. So, yeah. Alright, we're going to get real up close and personal with this CRV, so I'm just going to go at it with this needler. Alright guys, let's check out the progress. So I'm probably not going to film like this entire process because the dust is getting everywhere. Definitely not good for my camera, but you can see the work that it's doing. Little hole right here, but there was like a drain plug right here. But otherwise, it's very solid, despite all the rust. Alright, we're back under the vehicle. The dust has settled a little bit. This is the side that I just did. Looking really good. And now I'm going to do this side next. So I'm going to keep going at it. Alright, I've been working really hard at getting at all this rust. That needler tool is absolutely amazing, and I'm super satisfied with the way this is coming out. You guys saw how it was before, so I mean, it may still look kind of bad now, but compared to before, this is worlds better. So I'm definitely happy about that. I got solid metal here, and yeah, everything's good. I still got a little ways to go. There's some more spots I'm kind of seeing here. I mean, I could do this forever and probably still find spots, but I haven't even started with the wire wheel yet, so that's going to even take it down even further. Let's check over here. Yeah, check this out. So, cleaning up pretty good. Feels good bringing a CRV back from the grave. This thing will have many more years ahead of it once I coat all of this stuff with something. So next order of business is I'm going to get this old nasty hitch off. I think it's finally time. I've been using it as a jack point, but time to go. I can't get these bolts out, so we'll be using the old portaband to cut these off. Here we go, she's loose. Oh, nice. Alright, I got a hitch for sale, barely used. Got that rusty piece of crap out of my life, so. Alright, check this out. I went over this area with my wired cup wheel right here, and check out the difference. This was all brown, but this gets in there nice. So I'm gonna go underneath and just keep doing this wire wheel. Alright guys, shout out to this Nikon D3400 camera. This thing has been a trooper, getting hammered with rust, but if you ever wanted to know what I use, it's this camera right here. Just seems to work the best for my needs. The cell phones and the GoPros, the sound is horrible. I've tried to get mics and stuff, but just nothing has ever worked besides my trusty old DSLR. So anyways, moving on, we finally get to do some additive building on the CRV. Hard to believe up until this point it's just been all destructive and tear down, but yeah, I've just been busy for 5 days with this needler tool, which has been absolutely essential to getting this rust taken care of. But yeah, you can see the dust. It's just nasty, but we're just going to keep going on this. First thing I'm going to do is wipe it down with this paint thinner, the best I can at least, and then we're going to hit it with this rust reformer, and then probably later tonight I'll go back with the primer. What that's going to do is close out the back half of this build, or at least seal the back half. I got it needled to the best of my ability. It's not going to get any better than this, so once it's coated, it should last a long time. Once it's deprived of oxygen, it can no longer form new rust, so just got to take care of it, and everything will be fine. This is a functional utility type build that I'm building for myself, so I really don't care. But yeah, we're going to get this back half closed out, probably about up to the jack stands. Then the next phase is going to be rebuilding these rockers. So and then there's also some more needling that needs to be done on the bottom there, which I'm not as concerned about, so that shouldn't be too bad. Hard part is definitely behind me, and now we can start creating. Alright guys, that's enough B-roll. I'm gonna turn the camera off so I don't destroy it. Alright, let me try to give you the best look I can. This is completely transformed under here. Looking so much better. I can go under here without rust falling in my eyes. I used pretty much that entire can. See the inside here. Looks so good. So super happy with the way this is coming. Now I'm going to hit it with the next product, which is this rusty metal primer. Hopefully that'll just seal in whatever this other kind of paint I put on is. This is more of a rust and neutralizer, so I just figured it'd be good to seal that up with just standard primer. And probably we'll be going over it with something else again, something black, like a black top coat. So that is the plan. Alright, so after a bit of a reset, we got the CRV repositioned on the jack stands to get up a little higher. I also have it held up in the back and the front, so I feel safe going under the belly of the beast. Let me just show you guys what's next. So, viewer discretion advised. This is not for the faint of heart. That's what we're dealing with underneath here. So, I promise it's worse than it looks. That needler is just going to smash that rust away and take care of that. So, not worried. And then we just got this front bulkhead type area that we have to address. So just to remind you what we did back here and how awesome that looks. So just got to repeat the process and address this. First thing we're going to do is cut out these rockers areas and get all this crusty metal out of here. so I've been busy cutting at this and finally got it roughed into a point I find acceptable. So next up I'm going to be needling this, especially this inside area here. It needs to be done up pretty good, but yeah, you can see this whole channel here. It's all opened up now. Creatively, I would like to do something crazy, maybe put some rock sliders in, but I think for time's sake, I'll just be capping this off with some metal. So should actually be pretty straightforward for how bad it was. I'll cap this whole bottom off and then I'll be able to rebuild this corner. So yeah, that's it. Alright, now you guys can join me in my CRV cave where I've been living for the past 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and take a look. You can enter through the wheel well here. Let's take a look. So yeah, this is the bulkhead area, I call it. And as you can see, there's still areas of brown, but I'm telling you, I've needled and scraped and picked. This is as good as it gets. So everything is still structurally very, very solid, so I'm not even worried. Very surprisingly, I got out almost every single bolt from underneath here, so that's good. One thing I gotta deal with is this captured nut back here is nowhere to be found, so might have to cut an access hole in there to repair that. But yeah, this is what's been going on. I don't know how much B-roll you've guys seen. Can only show so much before that probably gets pretty boring, but yeah, let's just look. If you remember how bad it was before, this is like night and day. All the scales are off, and it's really, for as bad as it is, it's really good looking. But the main thing I want to paint today is just the center area and the bulkhead area, and then we can start to move outwards and start repairing these rockers. You can see what they look like. Pretty confident I got as far as I need to go is cutting metal out. We're in solid territory now. I might have to do a little edge cleanup still, but yeah, we'll have to rebuild this. Same thing on this side. I got it cut back pretty good. It's a solid metal, so be a little tedious piecing this together, but I don't think it'll be too bad. It's just rectangles of metal, so that's that. But alright, I'm gonna go ahead and start spraying. Alright, so the last footage you saw was me putting on the black rust reformer coat. Since then, I've put on the second and third coats of the rusty metal primer and also this gray top coat here. So let me just go ahead and show you guys some quick B-roll of the underside, and then we can move on to the next project. Alright, so finally done with the underside of the CRV. I get to move on to these front fender wells here. So as you can see, it's pretty toasty up in here. Other side is not quite as bad. This side has some extra bonus rust right here that we have to address, and a little bit right here. So I'm just going to draw a line. As you can see, there's a pretty sharp cutoff on this rust. So we're just going to stay outside of the line here. Alright, so that's pretty much where we're going to be cutting, just like a plastic surgeon here, just using the marker to mark out our lines. But that should take care of all that rust, and bonus, we're going to get some extra tire clearance. So not a bad deal. So I guess I'll mark out this next area here with my white marker. So we're going to have to come in about here and just try to stay in the good metal here, about right there. So that is about where we're cutting. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start chopping away. Alright, I got that cut roughed in, and it is already looking so much better without all that rust there. And we're going to have a ton of added tire clearance, so all in all, really good. And then we got this bad area here near the strut tower. Got most of that cut out, so we'll have to do a little more work with cleanup, but it is coming along nicely. Before I move over to that other side, I'm going to take care of the rust in the rear quarter here. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw another line with my marker. So we're going to go right on this body line here. So make sure we get all that rust out. And I gotta go this far because there's rust underneath here. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Alright, let's go ahead and check out this cut here. So you can see I made pretty quick work of that right along the line there. And I went ahead and cut out the inner fender as well, as it was in pretty rough condition. And there was a bunch of seam sealer up in this crevasse here. So I'll have to do my best to pick that out. So anyways, making quick work of this rust, let's go on and move to the front. Alright, we're back up here on the driver's side front wheel arch, and this is the final large piece of rust that I have to remove from the CRV. So I'm going to do the same thing and just go ahead and mark out where I want to cut. Alright, that looks pretty good. Luckily I don't have to go too far into this area here, so I'm probably going to just vertically cut up behind here and carve that out. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so I'm going to continue on these wheel wells here. I'm back on this side. I went through and cleaned this up a little more with the cutoff wheel and just been generally picking at it. Seems like this undercoating here comes off fairly easy. It shouldn't be too difficult with this wire wheel here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I have a little needling to do, and then I'm going to use the flap wheel and then grind off a lot of this paint. Then I'm just going to go ahead and get some of these inside areas cleaned up and painted with the rust proofing before I seal it up. But I was looking at this a little more, inspecting the damage that was done to it at one time. They did an okay job repairing it. Not like super great, but not bad either. So anyways, from what I can tell, the frame rail is untouched. Something must have came down at it from this angle and crushed this side in. It looks like this is the factory support. It was just straightened back out, and the entire core support was replaced because there's still MIG welds right here instead of spot welds. So they replaced the entire core support, and everything seems very straight, so that's the good thing. But yeah, there's the inside here. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all these edges. Then we can start making cardboard templates and start getting this patched up. So yeah, let's just get it done. Alright, doing a bit of an update on this inner fender well here. I've been pretty busy cleaning up all the rough edges and getting it ready for welding in new pieces. So as you can see, there's still some undercoating material on there. It's actually a lot thicker than I thought, and it's well adhered to the fender, so I'm just going to be painting over that. But yeah, just take a look in here. I chiseled off all of the large chunks of seam sealer that were everywhere, and there's a little area here I'm gonna have to weld up, but yeah, it's coming along. Let's go take a look at the other side here. So I just got started on this side. Fortunately, it's in a lot better condition. So yeah, this is all the stuff that I've chiseled off there so far, and you can take a look. So initially I thought scraping off this black layer, that was the car, but that's actually part of the undercoat, so that's why the other side looks the way it does. But no sense in getting it completely off. Just take off this first top layer and should work just fine. So yeah, a lot less holes over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these edges cleaned up like I did the other side, and then probably gonna move on to the rear rocker areas there and start cleaning up those with the cutoff wheel. So I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of that off camera just because it's hard to set up all the shots because you're moving around so much. But anyways, that's an update. Hopefully you'll see more in a little bit. Okay guys, so you just saw me do that one wheel well, but this is actually about 3 or 4 days later. I've done all the wheel wells, and it's actually a bit of a milestone right now because I can officially say that the CRV is 99% rust free. There's still that really deep rust that I couldn't get to in some areas, but like you saw, all that's getting treated and covered. So pretty much rust-free CRV with 86,000 miles on it, so we're doing good. It's quite a bit of work removing all that gunk and nastiness from the wheel wells, but I did it, and just finally get to be done with a lot of the really nasty stuff that I've been doing. I still have to do a little bit of grinding on when I weld in the new panels, but that's all clean metal, and I'm done with the rusty nastiness, 20 plus years of grime and gunk, and we're kind of dealing with a fresh shell at this point, so definitely a lot better. But let's go ahead and take a look at my handiwork here. So just been going at it between the cutoff wheel, the flap wheel, and the wire wheel. Between those three, I've just been going to town. Also, I've been manually chiseling just large chunks of seam sealer and other various things. I get to finally start welding in new metal. As you can see, all the edges have been cleaned up. I've straightened everything to make straight lines, to make patching easier, or as easy as I can. But yeah, we'll just check out this one, and we'll just go around and look at all the wheel wells. So yeah, this side, the one that wasn't as bad, got that all grinded out, ground out, looking good. And then we got the backs here. Check that out. Tons of work getting that all cleaned out, but and then down here, I just did my best to make as many straight cuts as possible to make patching easier. So let's go to the other side here. So yeah, check that out. And then another thing I did here is I trimmed this inner fender, so we have a pretty even little filler strip that I can add in there, which won't require a ton of work. And then this is the side that has the rust back here, so I got all that cut out, so I'll have to patch that in. But overall, coming along nicely. I really want to start on the front, but I think the best plan of attack here is to get these rear quarters finished out, because this is probably the next hardest thing on the build. It's going to be rebuilding these corners here, but yeah, we're just going to start getting into that right now and finally start working on this thing. Okay, so I'm finally set up to start welding here. I have my donor metal, started making some templates as you can see here. So we're going to be starting out on that rear quarter there. So I got the template for the inner fender, and then this is the template for the outer piece. This is the donor metal that I'm going to be using. So this is 18 gauge steel. The steel on the car is 20 gauge, so this is just slightly thicker. And then I got this filler strip here for that other area. I think the plan here, since this is so thin, is just to rough cut it out a blank here, and then fine tune it here with the vertical bandsaw. Yeah, I made this little jig table here so I can cut vertically, because I'm too cheap to buy one of the ones off the internet. The way I did it is where that guard bolts in, I used those two bolts right there, and then there's another bolt on the side here that really locks everything in place and keeps it solid. So quick little thing there, but yeah, let's go ahead and look at the car. So this is the inside. So right where that brown area is, it was just a giant glob of seam sealer, so I chiseled all of that out and we're left with mostly metal here. So we're going to be starting on the inner fender piece first. Kind of a tricky area here with all these areas converging here, but we'll just give it our best shot. Let me actually just grab the cardboard template real quick. Alright, so this is the template for the inner fender here. So that's actually going to go behind there, and I'm going to just I'm not going to butt weld it, I'm just going to lap it over there, and that'll be rebuilt. So that's first on the agenda. Okay, I'm just going to trace out my template onto this metal. There we go. Okay, got it clamped down on the edge of the table here, and I made myself some straight lines to hit with the cutoff wheel, so let's give it a go. Okay, I got our piece here, and that's going to fit up under here like this. However, there's a big gap there still, so I'm going to try to round this thing out a little bit. Okay, so I'm not a metal shaping expert by any means, but I think if I just put it on these towels here and hit it with this end of the hammer and just hit it in the center, that's going to give us that contour that we need for the inner fender. So let's just give it a try. Okay, so that's working out pretty good. Got that curve started on there. It's pretty satisfying getting that shape starting to form. So I held it up to the area and got a little too much material here, so I'm going to be cutting off this top section here that is not necessary, and that's gonna help me contour that in there a lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out right now. Alright, all that work for this little piece of metal, but I think I got it pretty good here, so go take a look how that fits. So, pretty good. I'm just going to have to take some vice grips, and that will pull in that factory fender towards my piece, and should give us a nice tight fit there. Okay, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I got this thing clamped in there before I weld it, so we got pretty good fitment on the outside, and the inside turned out really nice. Got good, nice fitment up in here. So let's go ahead and get that thing welded in. This area was my first spot, and it was super thin, so I definitely could have cut out a little more here, but I got it sealed up the best I could. And then over here you can see I got the hang of it more, little dots all the way around here. So that is all sealed up now, and I'm going to move over to the outside. Alright, I've been working on trimming this piece, and it's looking pretty good. So as you can see, I'm at the point now where I need to start bending it. So I'm going to try to bend up these flanges here where that black line is. It's kind of a compound bend, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. And just for reference here, here's the original piece that I cut out. So that's the shape we're going for. Luckily it's mostly flat on this front part. Just this rear has kind of a funky contour on it. So yeah, I'm just going to start hammering on it. Alright guys, so the patch panel is done, and check this thing out. Turned out really good. It took quite a bit of work to get this form. Wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off in one piece, but here it is. So just take this off. And then underneath here, I went ahead and primed it because that's going to be really hard to reach that area once this is closed in. So that's good to go. And then I'll just give you one more look at the inside here, which I also got primed. And I grounded a little bit too. And I had to trim a little bit more off. So all in all, looking good. It's finally time to get this welded in. So real quick, I can just compare it to the one that I cut off. So pretty close. Just took a lot of hammering and bending and twisting. Finally get that shape, just using these blocks and clamps in different configurations. So overall, turned out pretty good. Alright, let's check this out. Finally got it in. All things considered, it turned out pretty good. You never know what's going to start happening once you start welding. Everything just starts moving around right away. So, looks pretty good. So I'm going to just be really cautious and try not to warp this and let it cool a lot between welds, but I'm going to be welding that whole seam, which is little tacks like that. Alright, let's check this out. So I think it turned out pretty good considering we just came from a flat piece of metal and just used hammer and clamps. So happy with that. So underneath here we're going to be filling in this gap here, And then we got to do one more trim here. So I'm gonna have to take a little bit more out of this inner fender. I don't know if you can see, my finger is flat here, and then as we move it up, my finger is at an angle, and then it flattens back out. So I'm going to trim this out so it's flat all the way around. So let me just go ahead and mark this out with the Sharpie. So I'm going to start, hopefully you can see that, start right here, kind of just so about like that, and then that'll give us a nice flat area to weld. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done right now. Alright, so that little sliver here made a huge difference. Now if you look, my finger stays flat the whole time. So now I can start working on getting this filler strip cut out and fitting in there real nice. Alright, so I transferred the template onto the metal, and then I ran it along on both sides just to give me some extra. So yeah, that's what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out right now. Alright, I got this piece cut out, and I already went ahead and ground the edges up and got it fitting a little bit better. As you can see, fits pretty good, so I'm just going to have to tack it and move the metal around a little bit, but I think that's going to work good. But before I can do that, I'm going to try to get some rust proofing up inside this fender while I have it open. So I'm going to need to tape off these edges where I'm going to weld, so I don't get those full of paint. But I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then we can start tacking this thing on. Alright, let's take a quick look at my tape job here. So I just got it wrapped just over the edge to protect where I'm going to weld, and I should be able to shoot the paint right up in there. And I'm going to be using this new can that they got. This spray pattern is a vertical spray pattern, so hopefully I can keep the paint in the gap. But let's go ahead and give this a try. So yeah, as you can see, I was able to get a lot of paint up in there. There we go, got it soaked up in there good. I'm gonna let that dry and can finally get that piece welded in. Alright, one last look before I weld it up. You can see I got pretty good fitment here. So that's going to clean up that edge really nice. And then I'll just have to work the metal around as I weld it up. So yeah, let's give it a go. Alright, so I have this side tacked up and it is looking really good. So next I'm going to trim up this piece on the back here so that fits up in there better. And then this will go right up in there. A couple more tacks. Then I'm going to put more tacks on this side so I can hit it right here and try to bend this lip in a little bit more. So that's the plan. Okay, so I got this piece of metal trimmed up here. I'll show you what I did. So I just cut it to the shape that it needs to be. It fits right up in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that welded up. Alright, check it out. I got that entire seam welded up. I'll try to get you a good shot of what it looks like. Got it welded all the way down. And then I got this little jigsaw puzzle over here welded up. So I still have to weld the back side of this. And the back side actually has pretty decent fit up back here. So yeah, everything's coming together nice. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and probably grind this backside a little more and weld it up. Alright, I'm in the inner fender well. I'm trying to get a good shot for you guys, but I went and cleaned up this edge to meet up with the inside fender, and it turned out really good. Check out that fitment. And then here's this area back here. You can see our patch piece, the inside patch piece. Still got a little gap up in here, so I'm just gonna drop like a little filler strip in there when I get to this area. But yeah, compared to what we had before, this is looking awesome. Little update on the welding on the inner fender here. So I got pretty much this whole edge welded up. Now I'm back to over here. So I made this filler strip because there's a gap right in here. So I painted the back here, squirted a little paint in there, and then this will get welded in just like that. So there'll be no more gaps, and it'll be all good. Alright, quick look at the inside here. That was a lot of welding in a very awkward position, but I did get it. Probably a couple of pinholes here and there that I'll have to go back and get, but for now it is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and start grinding on this and knock down some of these welds, and yeah, just keep on moving. Alright, let's check out this wheel well here. This thing is looking like a work of art. Got about 90% of the weld knocked down with the flap wheel. I'll go back later and clean it up some more with the small 2-inch Rolox, but for now this looks great. This is incredibly solid right here, stronger than it came from the factory. Let's go take a look at the inside area. It's kind of interesting. But this is what the inside looks like. So yeah, you can see all the patches in there. So we'll load that up with paint at some point. But for now, I'm going to move on to this next portion, which is going to be equally as hard. This part right here. So yeah, I'm going to get a plan of attack here and just start cutting out cardboard templates and rebuild it. So that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so I just did a little trim cut on that piece we put in, and now I have the side skirt up there so I can kind of see how that fits into the equation. Looks like I'm going to be chopping that down a little bit. I already got it marked out where I'm going to be cutting it. And then later on I'll probably 3D print a cap just to cover that up. But after that's done, I'll have a good idea on where we need to put metal, and we'll just go from there. Alright, let's do a bit of an update on the progress here. So I got the inside all cleaned up, all down to bare metal, and I also have that cardboard template made. So that's going to fit in there really nice, and I'm just going to be butt welding that all the way down, and then I'll just bend up this tab on the end here. And then I got this frame rail where the end is rotted off, so I'm going to be repairing that as well while we're down here. And not only that, the captured nut that's supposed to be in that hole is no longer where it's supposed to be, so I'm going to have to come up with something, probably cut an access hole in here. So lots to do, and then we still just got to rebuild this whole back part. So little by little. Okay, so making progress here. You can see I got that patch panel tacked in here. Look at it from underneath. So it's looking really good. Got some boogers up here just because that metal was super thin, but I got it tacked in there, and I'll just grind all that stuff down. And now I'm going to be moving on to these next parts here. Got a little template for this, and then a template it's going to go up in here. So I'm going to get those cut out and tacked in right now. Alright, so I got this patch panel welded in, and it is looking really good. It's nice to have that metal back there. Then it got real thin back here, but I got it filled in with weld, so I'll have to grind that back down. I'll be doing a lot of grinding on this, but that will be later. Next up, I'm going to be putting in the end of this frame rail piece here. It was rotted out, so I cut it. And I made up this piece already. this bent piece, painted the inside, and then that fits up there pretty much perfectly. So I'm going to get that tacked in right now. Okay, so hopefully this is the last time we have to look at this mess here. So I've been super busy working on these 3 little parts here, and this is going to close a lot of this in. So let me just show you. So we got this back piece here, and this is a little bit heavier gauge metal. This is 16 gauge metal, so it's going to fit up in there. And then there's this stiffener piece up in here, the secondary piece right here, that I'm going to be rebuilding that. So this piece fits up in here like this, and that is going to support this piece here, which is going to complete everything right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff tacked in. Alright, so I have the next piece welded in. Alright, so I have that inner structure piece welded in and painted up. So now I'm going to go ahead and tack in this next piece. So check out the fitment on this. So that is going to look awesome in there. So yeah, check that out. So I'm going to go ahead and get this piece welded in here. Alright, check this out. I got that outside piece tacked in, and what a difference that makes. It's looking like a whole car again, so I'm super happy about that. Next up is I'm going to be getting this backside closed up, and I'm going to leave the bottom open, at least for a little bit. I don't see the sense in closing it up if I want to run some lines or something through there. Who knows? But I'm going to get that closed up, and then we can get started on the next side. Alright, check this out. I have this welded in. Weld got a little big, but I was going for full coverage here so I can grind it back and not have too many pinholes. But just look how solid this is now, especially with that piece behind there. That is just as good as factory. And then I also drilled 3 holes into the support piece and then spot welded it onto this front piece. So very strong. So we're going to move on right away to this end cap here. I already got my template made up here, so that's going to go just like that. And this will bend in a little bit. So that is just going to cap that off real nice. Alright, now it is time to cap this off. So check out the shape that I came up with here after using a cardboard template and just a little refinement. This is what I came up with. So this is going to fit in here just like that. So I'm going to get this thing welded in right now. Alright, I got that end cap welded in, and check it out. I actually have a solid rocker now. This thing is probably stronger than factory, so super pumped to get that done. It's a big milestone. I still got to do it all over again on the other side, but this entire fender arch area is completely sealed in now. The cabin is completely sealed out from the outside world. Just have this channel we'll have to cap off at some point, but that should be fairly straightforward. While we're down here, I'm going to take care of this captured nut right away. As you can see, there's supposed to be a nut in there and it's missing. I think I had to just pry it out when I took it out. So I'm going to be cutting an access hole on the bottom here. Alright, so we're back under the car. You can see the repair from the inside. Looking really good. Have some grinding to do, but we'll get to that later. I was just under here fixing this part. So in that little cavity there is a little floating nut, and it sits on that shelf which I cut out. It was a little shelf, and you can kind of see up there the top of the shelf is still in there, but I just cut that bottom out. So now I can just put a nut in there, and then I can get a wrench through that hole, and we'll be good to go. So I just wanted to address that while I was over here. But now I finally get to move on to another part of the vehicle and start to work on that. Alright, we're on the driver's side and we get to do it all over again. Luckily the quarter panel is still good on this side, so I don't have to mess with that, which is a big relief. But time is of the essence here, so I'll just be doing periodic updates, not too much B-roll or anything, because I want to get this done. And we still have tons and tons of work to do. So I have my template that I used on the other side, going to be filling up this gap here, and then we got the same deal with this corner rotted out. We'll be rebuilding that. Luckily the front area is more intact than the other side, but yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and get this done. Alright, so I got a little bit ahead of myself. I got that inner fender arch cut out, but before I do that, I want to take care of this inner cabin hole here. Luckily it's a little bit smaller than the other side, but I already got the sow denting pulled apart and the seam sealer kind of pried away. I'm going to go ahead and square this up with the cutoff wheel, and I got a little bit more rust to cut out, so I'm going to get that done and just get a patch panel cut out and get that fixed. So I'm definitely getting more efficient at banging out these panels. I got that inside patch looking good here, and then underneath the jet seal looks pretty good, and that piece is tacked in as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and weld this thing up. Alright, so I got this patch panel welded in. I definitely could have cut out a little more of that Honda metal. It was pretty thin, got kind of blobby, but it's sealed pretty tight. Go underneath here. I welded it on the outside too, and then I also got that frame rail end patched up, so that's looking good. So we are just quickly moving towards this area, which I already have this piece of metal, that structural backer piece that's pretty much ready to go in. But before we do that, I've been working on this piece right here, crafting it. Got it all done in one piece, and it's pretty much fitting perfect now. So I'm gonna get that tacked in right now. I wish I could film a little bit more, but this stuff is super tedious and I just want to get it done with. So last thing I did here is I filled up that crevice with paint, so I got as much rust proofing as I could up in there. So yeah, finally ready to get this big piece tacked in and see what happens. Alright, I got that piece tacked in, and check this out. This is some grade A fab work here. Got it all done in one strip, and it just looks perfect. Still got to weld it up on the inside, but very happy with this. This modification to these fender arches is definitely going to set my CRV apart and just give us free wheel clearance to run whatever wheels we want on here. So that is going to be awesome. I'm going to continue down this rocker panel here and fill in this area, this part right here, just a little rectangle, and then we can put that other piece in, that structural piece, and then this front piece here. I gotta make that up yet. So once that's done, we're just moving right along. So yeah. Alright, I got that next piece welded in there, that structural piece, and then I used a string line to help locate this and get it even. So I got it pretty close there, which will pretty much make the next piece a lot easier. Just going to drop in right over the top. So I think I'm going to do this side slightly different. Instead of making one channel piece, I'm going to split this into like two pieces. So we'll do the top half, and then I'll do the bottom half, and then there'll be a seam in the middle here. Should be easier that way because I had a heck of a time welding this top part on the other side. So, and this side is a little bit more deteriorated and missing some metal, so I'm gonna have to form that piece up, and then once I get those two pieces up, I can move to the back side over here, and then I'm gonna have to put a little piece here to patch up that triangle, and then I should be able to use my template that I used on the other side to make that end cap piece, and then it will be all sealed up again. So I'm gonna use my cardboard and just start banging out some more pieces here, and I'll give you an update in a little bit. Alright, I'm all ready to get this next piece in. I got everything prepped. So this is the shape that I came up with. It's just gonna overlap up in there like that. I'm going to tack it in and weld it up, and then we can go to this next bottom piece. Alright, I got that piece locked into place, which I'm super glad. That was a pretty technical area here, and it turned out good, all things considered, so I'm happy with it. Now I can go ahead and just cut this off flush right here, and then I can start doing this bottom piece here, and it's all coming together very nicely. So alright, I got this last piece bent up. Check out the fitment on that. Very tedious getting it to this point, but this piece is really gonna make a huge difference right here. So I'm gonna get that tacked in right now, and then just have to cut it off where this other piece is. Just have to cut it straight down. Alright, I got that piece welded in there, and check it out. I mean, for what I was working with, I'm pretty darn happy. Got that piece chopped off the end here. Now it's time to get this cap done. Alright, I got my end plate cardboard made up here, so I'm going to be cutting this out of 16 gauge steel. Should fit in there really nice. Alright, ready to put this final piece in. This is what I came up with. Bit of a technical piece, but got it fitting pretty good here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that tacked in. Alright, I got this end plate locked into place here, ready to be welded. It was definitely a difficult area to do, but a little bit of hammering and cutting and grinding. Finally got that fitting perfect here, and it is just looking so good having this rocker rebuilt here. Still have to address the bottom, but I'm not even going to worry about that right now. And none of that is really that cosmetic, so that should be pretty easy to fill in. And I just want to leave this area open again, because who knows why I might need access to the inside of here. So we'll just leave that part open. But yeah, I got this whole area to get seam welded up, including the inside, which is pretty difficult and out of position. But we're going to get it done, then move on to the front area. Alright, so just when I thought I was done with this side, things escalated a little bit, and this is what we got. So let me tell you how this happened. So I did have this entire seam welded up, looked pretty nice, but there's a couple pinholes, and I was trying to fill those, and it would just create a big gob of weld, and it's really hard to try to grind just the weld. So the areas next to it were getting super thin, creating more pinholes, and it was just getting super frustrating. So I just went ahead and welded up this entire area here, just to make sure everything's going to be solid and just completely metal. So yeah, pretty ugly looking, but it is going to be way stronger than it was. And just because there wasn't any rust visible on the side, this metal here was a little bit thinner than what it came from the factory. So, you know, I just filled it all in with weld. Now I'm going to go ahead and grind all this back down and hopefully have a nice looking corner here. Alright, check out all this grinding dust here. Made quite the mess. So a lot of weld to grind down. Got it the best I can. You know, there can always be a little bit better, but I'll lean into the body filler and the primer a little bit, and that should take care of pretty much all the imperfections on here. But considering what we had, this looks pretty good, and it's going to be very strong in this area. So that is good. I'm going to get this swept up, and unfortunately I was looking at the other side. I think I'm going to have to go back over there and possibly do the same thing. So yeah. Alright, so I've been back at this side working on grinding it down. I did think I was all finished grinding, and now I'm back to looking like this. Just wasn't happy with the amount of pinholes and thin metal in these areas, so I just welded over the entire area, getting good penetration, and this is what I got. So now I'm going to go back and grind probably 80% of this weld back down, and hopefully I have enough weld there so we don't have any more pinholes. Might get one or two. So anyways, that's what this looks like now. Go and show you the inside here and give you an idea what's really going on. Doesn't look super pretty, but you'll never see any of this. But yeah, you can see all that penetration of the weld back here. Looks a lot better than it did before. saving this for a while now, just so for this moment right here that I can show you guys how much metal came off of the CRV just in sheer rust alone. So I've been saving all of my sweepings and then everything I cut off. So let's go ahead and put this on the scale. Alright, so I got it on the scale here. Looks like almost 40 pounds of metal came off here, which is quite a bit. So yeah, we'll finally throw this away now. It's nasty stuff. And yeah, on a good note, I basically have a rust-free CRV, which can't say the same when I drove this thing in here. So alright guys, it's the night before releasing this very video. I just want to thank you for sticking around with me. Part 1 did a lot better than expected, and I am very grateful for that. And it gives me a whole new energy for the next videos going forward. This is how the CRV currently sits. I had to take a short hiatus to take care of some things, and the WRX wanted its parking space back, but I'm going to be getting this garage cleaned and set up again so I can continue filming and get back on track. There's a ton more surprises coming up that you're not going to want to miss, so please subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in the next one.